From Happy Valley to North Philadelphia, Temple has found its new head basketball coach. I'm OwlSports Update's Brielle Berry live at the Liacouras Center with all you need to know.
And that's just part of our coverage. We'll check in with a Penn State basketball beat reporter to learn more about what Temple is getting from Happy Valley.
Plus, we've got an update on the football's newest coaches, soccer's newest coaches, and the crew team gets a new boat from an unlikely source.
It's all coming up on OwlSports Update, and it starts right now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to OwlSports Update. He's Matt Rainier, and I'm Meg Doyle.
There's a new face on Broad as athletics announced on Wednesday. It has found its replacement for Aaron McKee. Courts and Sessions host Brielle Berry is live at the Liacouras Center to tell us more about it. Hey, Brielle.
Thanks, Matt. His name is Adam Fisher. He was PSU's associate head coach this past season for a Nittany Lions squad that won 23 games and made it to the second round of the NCAA tournament. Looking at his resume, Fisher has really bounced around. He spent time at Villanova, Boston University, and University of Miami as well. But over the years, he's always found his way back to Penn State. He's known for being a strong recruiter, both at Miami and at Penn State. In Miami, Fisher was part of a staff that developed Reading, Pennsylvania's very own Lonnie Walker IV, who currently plays for the Los Angeles Lakers. He also helped lead Penn State to the Big Ten final in its conference tournament earlier this month when the Nittany Lions lost to Purdue. Fisher is a PSU grad from 2006, so he knows Pennsylvania very well. He's also known for coaching up defense. Penn State's allowed just 65 points per game this past season, the team's best mark in 11 years. Now, Coach Fisher is expected to be formally introduced in a news conference sometime next week. Reporting from the Liacouras Center, I'm Brielle Berry. Meg and Matt, back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Brielle. We now have another Courts and Session anchor here with us, Emily Cochran, joining us here at the desk to discuss the new hire. Emily, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me.
Now, what do you think was the main aspect that attracted Fisher to this job in the first place?
So right now, there's no question that there's a lot of instability going on within the Temple basketball program and within the Temple community as well. But nonetheless, Temple basketball is still a legendary program, and Adam Fisher taking advantage of this opportunity is huge for him, considering that this would be his first head coaching position, and rebuilding the sixth most winningest program in D1 basketball history could be huge for him.
Absolutely. Now, we've seen a lot of key players enter that transfer portal. How do you think Fisher's going to impact that recruitment process?
Yeah, so Brielle talked a little bit about Fisher's responsibilities at Penn State in terms of recruiting, but I definitely want to talk about the portal a little bit. Right now, Temple has 6 guys in the portal right now. Actually, Nick Jourdain officially just transferred to Memphis, so it's down to 5. So 4 of those 5 have actually agreed to talk to Temple's next head coach, Adam Fisher, have conversations with him, and just kind of get a feel for how he's stylistically as a coach and things like that. I think if they catch a glimpse at his style and how he is as a coach and as a person with the ties he does have to the Philadelphia community, I think maybe guys like Jameel Reynolds, Hyseer Miller, maybe even a Damian Dunn could potentially maybe work their way back.
Now, Temple's had stability for what seems like decades with names like Chaney and Dunphy, but given the recent instability, Aaron McKee only lasting 4 years here, and now with President Wingard stepping down, what do you think this says about the current state of the program and where it stands today?
Yeah, so McKee stepping down from this position was a huge deal and a huge wake-up call because he does have these ties to the Philadelphia basketball community. Not only was Temple basketball and its program legendary for decades, but Philadelphia is so deeply rooted in the sport of basketball. So when, the instability not only affects the reputation of Temple as a basketball program, but it also impacts the reputation of the Philadelphia basketball community as a whole. So especially when people think back to the Big 5 days and when Temple dominated during those days with guys like John Chaney and Fran Dunphy and things like that. So that's definitely something to consider, and I'm hoping that Adam Fisher can really come in and try to rebuild what was there for so long.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much for coming on today, Emily.
Thank you guys for having me.
Of course. Now, that's the perspective from North Broad, but let's also take a look at this view from Happy Valley. Let's bring on Justin Chevaleva, a basketball beat reporter from Penn State Sports Night. Hey, Justin, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Now, what exactly was Fisher's role as associate head coach, and what were some of his key responsibilities with the team?
I mean, you guys have already mentioned it a little bit. His recruiting ability is what sets him apart from other assistant or associate head coaches around, college basketball. And that's why, getting this job at Temple for him, one of the big things to watch out for is how well he is able to recruit. It goes back to the 8 years that he spent at Miami. You look at how good he was at recruiting, even from areas that aren't around from Miami. One of those players being Isaiah Wong, who's been crucial in the Hurricanes' current run to the Final Four. And then he came up to Penn State, and he helped Penn State secure their highest recruiting class in program history, followed by what was supposed to be another top 30 in the country recruiting class prior to Micah Shrewsbury departing and prior to him departing. So Adam Fisher off the court is one of the best recruiters there is in college basketball. And you go to his on-the-court presence, he's able to develop players so well. And you look at it, one of the things that Penn State basketball has been able to do well is play to the strengths of their players rather than playing to the strengths of what the coaches might like, whether that be offense or defense. Penn State, last year, they were defensive. This past season, they were more offensive. And that starts with Fisher, along with, obviously, the head coach at the time, who was Micah Shrewsbury. But Fisher was key in helping those players really, find their groove in Happy Valley.
Now, Penn State also had a head coach opening at the time as Temple, so there was a lot of public support via social media from players to keep Fisher in State College. Are you surprised that he wasn't chosen for the job?
Part of me definitely is surprised that he wasn't given more of a look. He was given a look, but I expected him to, honestly become the head coach for Penn State, especially with the way that players like Jalen Pickett, Miles Dredd, Andrew Funk came out publicly on Twitter and addressed, Penn State saying, hey, make sure you get Adam Fisher his opportunity. And with that, I expected him really to, because those are three of the, biggest players that helped Penn State do what they did this year, which was make a run to the Big Ten championship game and then make a run into the round of 32. This was a team that wasn't expected to do that. And then, to have those players, those who played the biggest roles, come out and say, give Adam Fisher his chance, it was surprising. But at the same time, Penn State clearly showing that they wanted that head coaching experience, with Fisher just does not have right now, and he's going to get at Temple. They brought on Mike Rhodes, who has 19 years of head coaching experience between three different schools, both Division III and Division I. He's been to the NCAA tournament 7 times over both of those divisions. He's had success, and I think that's what ended up giving him the advantage over Adam Fisher, who really had not only, the players bought in, but I think he had a lot of fan support too.
Well, unfortunately, that's all the time we have today. Thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you.
It feels like most teams around Temple are having hectic off seasons, and football is on that list. A lot of changes in personnel at Edberg Olson, with some new coaches and even one old coach who is new again. OwlSports Updates' Hayden Bandel has the story.
Get your man, get your boys, get your man.
Stan Drayton's offseason has been a busy one, not just focused on the players, but also his coaching staff. There is a new chief of staff, a new running backs coach, and a new defensive coordinator. The program has found a way to keep the defensive game strategy the same.
We were still responsible for the coverage calls and letting know what the linebackers have to do, what the corners have to do.
Even with the scramble of personnel coming in and out of this offseason, Everett Withers' return as the defensive coordinator adds some consistency.
It's great, to be honest, nothing, the fact that nothing has, really changed, and just, having him being able to come back in and just, keep the same level that Elliott, brought in for us.
DJ Elliott was hired as the defensive coordinator in Stan Drayton's first season, but this offseason took a job with a different Bird team.
that happens to be where the Owls also play their home games.
Him coordinate before, and I know he's dynamic and he's very, very similar systematically to that of DJ. So it only made sense to bring a guy back in to the program who not only understands the defense that we're going to run, but knows our players.
The Owls had a balanced defensive unit in 2022. They gave up less than 200 yards per game in the pass and less than 200 in the run. This is a first dating back to 2018. Now it's Wither's job to make the Owls even stronger come 2023. Reporting from Lincoln Financial Field, I'm Hayden Bandel, Owl Sports Update.
Temple lacrosse returned to action at Howard Field on Saturday in order to take on the JMU Dukes. The Owls looking to avoid a 3-game losing streak heading into the match. Already up by 1, the Dukes are looking to add to their lead. Isabella Peterson brings the ball in front and finds Ty Jankowski, who fires on net to make it 2-0 JMU. And it doesn't take long for Jankowski to do it again. She finished with 4 goals in the Owls in this one. Temple trying to mount a comeback, down 7-1 late in the third. Maeve Tobin finds Bella Mastro Pietro, who launches this one and connects with the net and cuts into the lead. Temple would score 5 goals in the fourth quarter, including this steal by Maddie Barber. She races up the field, only 1 defender to beat, firing on net and scores her 2nd goal of the season. But unfortunately, it goes for naught. Temple falling to JMU by a final score of 10-8.
The Lax team is having a tougher season than most thought to this point. OwlSports Update's Vartan Sarkisian has the latest as the Owls are looking to get back on track.
It's been a bit of a rough ride for the Temple lacrosse team. 3 straight losses and a .500 record. The latest loss coming to nationally ranked James Madison. The record so far is a step back from last year, where the Owls were 7-3 after 10 games. Scoring is down by 26 goals compared to this point in 2022.
I think the offensive end is actually really more in our turnovers. You know, we've consistently been turning the ball over, unforced turnovers, too much. And so then that's leading to less offensive possessions.
With less offensive possessions comes less goals. This puts unneeded stress on a defense that is already working overtime. The offense needs to slow down, find their tempo, and have more confidence when they're close to net.
I mean, a lot of it is just communication. 1v1 defense, we've worked a lot on that, and just the way we force people dependent on like their strong hand or non-strong hand, and then just helping cutters, sending slides. So I think it's just a team defense that we've really been working on.
Coach Rosen has been dealt a tricky hand, having to welcome on so many freshmen, including 5 on the defensive side, but she's been able to keep the defense just as strong as she did last year. With 6 games left in the season, the Owls have plenty of time to make a run and be one of 4 teams to make the postseason in their 17 conference. Reporting from the Temple Sports Complex, I'm Vartan Sarkisian, Owl Sports Update.
Next up for Lax, a road trip to the Buckeye State. Owl Sports Update's Morgan Killian Mosley is here at the studio set with a look ahead. Hey, Morgan.
As mentioned, the Owls enter Saturday afternoon's matchup in Cincinnati against the Bearcats on a 3-game losing streak, and they're 0-8 over the last 2 seasons against ranked teams. And Cincy is no slouch. The Bearcats are 8-4 overall and are going into Saturday's matchup with something to prove after taking a 20-5 shellacking last Saturday at the hands of number 8 Florida. Now, if the Owls want to stop their skid, they'll need to shut down Cameron Callahan. The freshman attacker has 44 goals through 12 games this season for the Bearcats, as many as Bella Mastro Pietro had for the Owls in all of last season. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't mention Cincy senior backliner Danny Milkby, who will likely be facing Bella Mastro Pietro in the draw circle a time or 2 on Saturday. That last name should sound familiar to Temple fans, as Danny is the great niece of Temple basketball legend, the Owl without a vowel, Bill Milkby. Reporting from the studio set, I'm Morgan Killian Mosley. Matt and Meg, back to you.
Thanks, Morgan. It's just about time for our first break of the show. When we come back, we have a lot to cover, including an exciting new addition for the crew team and men's tennis making history.
And Twitter talk, mainly because it rhymes. Don't go away. Owl Sports Update will be right back. Welcome back to Owl Sports Update. Temple crew is getting a new addition to the team.
But it's not a rower or a coach. OwlSports Update's Luke Mila is live at the studio set to explain. Hey, Luke.
Hey guys, Dr. Scott Gratson, a professor here at Klein College, loves crew. So much so that he recently donated the money needed to buy a new boat for Temple's team. It's something crew can practice and compete with, and it pays off an interest that was sparked by a trip to Temple's boathouse 5 years ago. Dr. Gratson's boat was in the water at practice this past week as the Owls gear up for the Stanford Invite on April 1st. It was one of 4 boats the team used. Head coach Brian Perkins told me Dr. Gratson was the first professor to come watch the team practice and compete back in 2018. And he's the first professor to ever make this type of contribution. 5 years and 1 donation later, he stressed the difference this boat will make in competitions.
The equipment to be a deciding factor in a race. If you watch the Olympics, they only row these boats. Like nobody in collegiate rowing and international rowing has a better boat than we do.
The second, however, that I got on the river with them, I wasn't in the boat with Nick. I was with the coaches. It was like utter magic. Since then, every fall, first day of fall, I go out with them on the river to see the sunrise over Philly. I cannot express how thrilled I am and how proud I am of that team. Every night, I reflect back on crew.
The professor will be in the water for its first competition on April 8th at the Murphy Cup Regatta. Reporting live from the studio set, I'm Luke Meli. Megan, Matt, back to you.
Thanks, Luke. It's time for our second break of the show.
When we come back, we'll have the latest edition of Twitter Talk, where you at home have made your picks. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back. Following a 4-win season, Temple men's soccer chose to go in a different direction with its head coach. OwlSports Update's Megan Wiley is live from the Temple Sports Complex with the latest. Hey, Megan.
Thanks, Matt. After a turbulent fall season, the men's soccer team is looking to make a comeback, and that starts with a completely new coaching lineup. Over the last 3 months, Temple has hired 3 new coaches, including a new head coach with ties to the Philadelphia area. When a team hired a new head coach, new assistant coaches are never far behind, and that's the case for the Temple men's soccer team. The Owls won just 4 games in the fall. With a goal of becoming a more competitive team, the Owls were eager to find coaches with roots in Philadelphia. Temple hired head coach Brian Green, who has coaching experience at Keystone College in Drexel.
Any sport in Philly, you see every team competes, and so we want to be like that, and we want to embody that part of Philly.
With Green comes 2 new assistant coaches, goalkeeping coach Ryan Sundell, who comes from Penn, and John Velasco, who served as a head coach at King's College in Northeast PA. The Owls aren't starting over, but they are trying to rebuild a team that finished last in the AAC in 2022.
We want the guys playing a lot. You know, Coach Green emphasizes making sure that there is structure, making sure that there's a plan ready to go, and that's really the biggest thing, is trying to find consistency so the guys know what's going on and try to execute it at a higher level each time.
With a team of mostly underclassmen, there's a lot of opportunities for the coaches and the players to learn from each other. And for the players that have been on the team for multiple seasons, there's still hope for making the AAC tournament. And with that comes a lot of hard work. The Owls have never won the AAC tournament, and in their spring game so far, Temple fell to Drexel. So the team is making moves, but there's a long way to go with fresh faces at the top.
I think the most important thing for the group is to know that we're going to be true to ourselves and to what we believe in, you know, in every game until we get it right.
The Owls are still looking for their first win this season as they host Bucknell this Saturday. Live from the Temple Sports Complex, I'm Megan Wiley. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks, Megan. You voted, we listened. It's once again time for us to analyze some of the top athletes on campus as chosen by you at home. It's time for this week's Twitter Talk with M&M.
And I'm highlighting the player that earned the most votes from our poll this week. 38% of the vote to be exact. That's right, it's Katie Shallow. The lacrosse team, they've been on a 3-game slide as of late, but the junior defender, she's been the anchor on defense that the Owls have desperately needed in this stretch. She currently leads the team with 18 caused turnovers this season, including 3 in the loss to JMU last week. She's also second in the team, just behind Belmastro Pietro in draw controls, earning 39 this season. and that she's a player that the offense, no matter who it is, they have to keep an eye on her, regardless if she's on the ball handler or not. You cannot keep your eyes off her because she is capable of hiding in the crowd. That's what her strength really is, being able to hide in the sea of bodies and then leap out to intercept a pass or even break up a pass. That's been a big reason for why she leads the team in caused turnovers this season, and it was on full display against the Dukes in this game. Here she is hiding, pokes it free, and it goes out of bounds, scoops it up, and she's able to secure it. She did this 3 times in the matchup. It was one of the lone bright spots for the Owls in their loss, and it was a big part for why they were able to nearly come back against the Dukes earlier this year.
Absolutely, she is an asset for the team. For this week, I have Jamie Wei, a graduate student on the women's tennis team from Taiwan. Although it's only her 2nd season with the Owls, she's made a huge impact. So far for the spring season, she's had 10 singles wins. Not only that, but she is on fire with her doubles partner, Maiko Uchigima. This pair is currently 5th in the ITA national rankings, along with being named AAC Athletes of the Month last fall. Wei also gets to play with her sister, Evie. Even though they are 8,000 miles from home, they have a little piece of Taiwan within each other. Jamie is finishing her last semester at Temple, certainly leaving strong, big shoes to fill.
Absolutely, and that will do it for this week's edition of Twitter Talk. But don't forget to follow along on Twitter at OwlSports Update to vote. From the list of 4 options, 2 of them will be selected to be featured in our next show.
We are up against our final break of the show. When we come back, it will be all field hockey talk.
And we'll be previewing the start of field hockey spring season. Don't change the channel. OwlSports Update will be right back. Welcome back. Temple field hockey spring season is underway, and they start off with a tie against LaSalle. And this showed that the Owls still have a lot of things to work on. And losing key players to graduation, the Owls are using the spring season to its fullest under head coach Michelle Vatisse. For most fall sports at Temple, the spring semester is a chance to recover from last season and plan out the next season. But field hockey is unusually busy. The Owls have 5 games between March and May, but even with these games, it doesn't necessarily mean an easier practice schedule. The Owls only have 18 players, 10 fewer than in the fall because the seniors are gone and next year's freshmen haven't arrived.
I mean, this past 2 months we've had a lot of time to really work on our development, so we really push ourselves and see what we're capable of, and then in the weight room we're reaching those heavier numbers, and then we're running faster and longer on the field.
The team's development will be crucial. The program lost 2 big names, Ninka Orlemans, the team's center back, and Annie Judge, the team's leader in assists.
Every single one of them added so much value. It's a beautiful yet very sad process. It also, from a coaching perspective, puts a lot of responsibility into our hands.
The loss of so many key pieces for the Owls will certainly be a big challenge for them to overcome, but Michelle Vatisse is confident, as she and her squad are using the spring season to not only improve on their skills, but to find the next group of leaders for this program.
It gives a lot of opportunity for them to lead, for them to start to develop leadership roles, and it gives a lot of minutes and opportunity for them to play and experience the game in a way that maybe they haven't previously.
The Owls finished 13-6 last fall. Finding players like Orlemans, Judge, and others will be a challenge to replace, and the search starts this spring. Well, that's all the time we have for this week.
For our entire crew, thank you so much for tuning in, and have a great weekend.